Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Morhonda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three in.
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard here on this Tuesday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Another incredibly looking day outside. K-Bro is along for the ride on this Tuesday. Kevin Brockway joins me, as always, from CNHI Papers. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good morning. Good to be back. Very sad last week. Was in New York for a funeral. My first cousin, 51 years old, just heartbreaking brain aneurysm. And my cousin Freddie, who lived a very good life. You know, he served his country in the Navy in Desert Storm, went on to work as a customs agent and then an FBI agent, leaves behind 2 teenage kids. It was just heartbreaking, but it was, important for me to be there with family. And it's good to be back. Good to be back talking sports. Very excited about that.
Well, sorry for your loss, man. It's always tough to lose a family member, no matter what, how often you see them, but glad to have you back and hope that they're able to get through all that. Lots going on to get to. A busy day. It's been kind of slow, to be honest with you, and now it's jacking back up. I saw a report from College Basketball report that lists Indiana with the number 2 backcourt in the country. We've got the Gavitt games announced as Indiana will be traveling to Xavier to take on. They still get the game with Sean Miller after all. How about that? And they still have the Arizona game. Hoosier Hysteria is set for homecoming weekend. We'll talk about that. It's probably kind of a smart thing, kind of a cool. University of Miami quarterback denies the report of $9.5 million NIL deal. Kyrie opts in smartly to a $35 million deal on his contract. The Pacers, are they going to make any trades? All that, we heard a lot of talk about that, Kevin, and nothing's happened yet. Major League Baseball, what's going on there? What's happening with the Mets? So they're going to give up the lead. The College World Series ends last night. And we'll find out who all got selected from the Big Ten in the draft, as K-Bro was here to help us with all that, man. Welcome, everybody, on the Andy Morhonda hotline as well. We appreciate you hitting us up. It's Forrest, Michael, Wyatt, Ross, Michael. I saw that. Did you see that tweet this morning that came out, Kevin, from a College Basketball report that had, and it doesn't mean anything. It's bragging rights for a lot of people, basically, but it lists Indiana with the number 2 backcourt in the country behind North Carolina, of all people, who they'll be taking each other on in the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
Yeah, Caleb Love will be coming here, who's a tremendous obviously a guard, but for Indiana to be ranked that high, a little surprising. But Jalen Hood-Schifino certainly adds to the talent mix. And then you take a look at what Xavier Johnson did at the end of last season. He's coming back probably as one of the best guards in the Big Ten. So you do have 2 guys there that
he's got to be considered one of the best guards in the country, to be honest with you, with how he played at the end of the year and knowing that he's had another season of probably focused of play, of getting ready. He's got to be one of the top point guards in the country coming back.
Yeah, no question. And when you look at that, one of the tops in the Big Ten, certainly. And it's going to be it's going to be interesting because they need that backcourt play to be consistent to go with certainly the front court they have, which I still think is the strength of their team, obviously with Race Thompson and Trace Jackson Davis and Jordan Geronimo and Malik Renault. You have 4 really good, strong, solid, talented guys there to put it the 4 and 5 spot. A lot of depth there. They're going to be able to withstand foul trouble. They should be able to rebound. They should be able to protect the rim and block shots. So if the backcourt is as good as advertised, that makes Indiana a complete team.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that and looking forward to seeing them play But I think it is going to be, I've said it many times, I think it's going to be a unique backcourt because I think Xavier is going to be able to become a 1-2 kind of guard. He's going to be the point guard, but yet he's a guy that can score, man. He can score off his own, off the dribble. He can get his own shot, and he can hit the shot. So he's a very, very good point guard to have. Seriously, you don't have a point guard that can usually offer that much dimension. And with the experience alongside of that, helping Jalen Hood-Schifino get acclimated to the college life, I think it's going to be one hell of a combination.
Yeah, and, his shooting percentage picked up late last season, as we know, with Xavier. He started to get more confident knocking down those open shots. If you remember early in the season, Notre Dame game, some other games where, they passed him back the ball and, he was still firing them up there, just wasn't making them. And I think as the season went on and became more comfortable, that jump shot improved. And we'll see about Jalen Hood-Schifino. He did go 3 for 4 from 3 in the Jordan Brand game. Didn't shoot much in the game that I was in because he had a finger injury. But in talking with Jalen Hood-Schifino last week, he discussed the fact, too, that he would be comfortable playing off the ball as well. And I think you'll see a lot of alternation there. And then you'll see them probably stagger some minutes where you'll have some stretches where Xavier will run the point, some stretches where Jalen will run the point, and you could sub accordingly as well and, take one out. Now, the backcourt depth remains, I think, a little bit of a question mark in terms of, is Anthony Leal going to step up, Trey Galloway, Tamar Bates? Do they play more of the wing position? I mean, when you talk about backcourt at Indiana, you're probably talking more about 3 players than 2 players because you're probably going to do a 2-in, 3-out situation again this year. So I think it's going to be incumbent on guys like Leal, on guys like Galloway and Tamar Bates to continue to develop, to really make that backcourt deep, to go along with the frontline talent.
I agree. The depth is a problem. There's no known quantity behind those guys. There's nothing that's for sure. Trey Galloway has been solid, but he brings you nothing. I don't mean negative, but he doesn't bring you anything production wise. There's a big let off. And so you're dead on with there's a lack of depth at that position.
Yeah, I think Tamar Bates is going to be very important. And let's not forget too, at Galloway, unfortunately, with the groin surgery, he's not going to have that offseason develop as well, which could set him back a little bit, which certainly hurts his situation. But maybe in the long run, this will help him because he has been injury prone throughout his career, and if he can get that groin situation settled, then maybe he'll be right. But, Anthony Leal is a very interesting guy. We forget that he was a Mr. Basketball in Indiana in 2020. And who knows, maybe a guy like Jordan Hull is a fellow Bloomington South guy coming back. Maybe that will help him. Maybe it'll, get him on track. And I think this is a huge offseason for him, too. And if he can show that he can consistently knock down shots, and he did a little in the non-conference last year, he could find a spot. I mean, his big problem was in conference games. As we saw in the Northwestern game, he had an opportunity, he couldn't take advantage of it there to really show the coaches what he could do. And I think this is going to be a big offseason for him.
Yeah, looking forward to that because I agree. It's going to be an opportunity. Could be CJ Gunn steps up. We don't know. I mean, there's going to be opportunities there for someone has to step up. That's the thing. Somebody's going to have to do that, and we'll have to wait and find out who that is. The Gavitt games announced. Indiana will be taking on Xavier, which is pretty cool because now you still get that Sean Miller matchup with Indiana as he is now at Xavier. So a little irony there. Of course, there's always irony in these matchups. But Indiana has to travel to Xavier. That's not going to be an easy game at all. And don't think that Sean Miller is not going to want to win that game
badly. Have you ever been in that gym? The Xavier gym? It's a night. Yeah, I went there in 2011. Florida played there on New Year's Eve. And I spent New Year's Eve in Cincinnati. I think it was 2010 going into 2011. Nice little gym, nice college gym, probably seats about 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, has a really nice feel to it. So it'll be fun. It'll be a good atmosphere. And, being in Cincinnati across the Indiana border, my feeling is there'll probably be a lot of Hoosier fans. Hoosier.
Well, you saw what happened. You saw what happened in Dayton.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw what happened in Chicago at Northwestern. Indiana fans just took the place over, and that'll be the case again.
Yeah. So that'll be a good. I think it's kind of good, because a lot of people were wondering with the Big East if they were going to go to Georgetown or Villanova or so forth. I think it's kind of good given the traveling and the difficulty of the schedule that they kind of have a driving trip or a bus trip instead of traveling across the country again, because you've got two pretty long road trips back to back in Vegas and Kansas. I think that this worked out pretty well, that you have something that's regional and a road game that the fans can get to easily as well.
And a lot of mentioned Jerome Hunter, former IU player, is at Xavier. What's he there? Was this his 26th season there now? Seems like, just kidding, but yeah. So there's that. So looking forward to that. That adds to Indiana's schedule now. You've got Xavier, Arizona, North Carolina, and
Kansas.
We have Kansas added on. So there you go. There's your compare that to last season's non-conference schedule. Big difference.
Yeah, St. John's, Notre Dame, and Syracuse were the best three, but this is far and away a much tougher schedule. But you have to understand too, last year was Woodson's first season, so this year is it's kind of like Kenny Payne. They approached Kenny Payne at Louisville apparently about doing a home and home, and Kenny Payne said, "Hey, look, let me get my program off the ground a little bit. Maybe
wisely
we'll do it." Yeah,
he very wisely said, "I don't blame him at all, man. There's no reason in putting yourself in harm's way right off the bat."
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think Woodson employed the same strategy last year, where it's like, let's get people used to my system. Let's create a little confidence. But I think this year, with the team that Mike Woodson has, he's probably confident that he can go into those games and have a chance to win every game. Now, I think if you split those four, or if you take 3 out of 4, you set yourself up really well for the Big Ten schedule. Certainly, you don't want to, be 1-3 in those or 0-4, but I think even if you split those two, you probably learn a little bit more about your team, and you head into Big Ten play with a pretty strong resume.
Also, the Indy Classic will be taking the place of the former Crossroads Classic. Let's see.
Our good friend Michael Lewis, Ball State. They've got a game against Illinois State, I believe, in that one.
Yeah, but this is the difference, and I'm not trying to crack on Purdue, but Purdue is taking part of this, and here are the 4 teams: Purdue, Ball State, Davidson, and Illinois State.
Yeah.
How in the world does that do Purdue any good to dismiss the fact that they are the most regionalized team in the country? They are just such a regional team, and they do everything to stay that way. This is another example of that to me. Playing Davidson? Are you kidding me? Illinois State? What a joke. That's to me, that's a joke. And that just continues to keep Purdue in that conversation of not being a national type team. Yeah.
And Purdue also hosting Hofstra at Speedy Claxton. It also came out yesterday, but Hofstra's a good mid-major program. They're not bad.
I know, but we're sitting here talking about Indiana and Arizona and Xavier and Kansas and all that, and now on the other hand, not that I care. I'm just saying it cracks me up. Why Purdue fans even question why Indiana is considered the team of the state of Indiana, besides the 5 national championships that they've been able to win, in addition to the fact that people look at they want Indiana on the TV schedule. They don't want Purdue. They want Indiana playing Kansas and Arizona. They don't want Purdue. And it doesn't matter if Indiana's coming off of a bad year or a bad couple of years. They still want Indiana. And that's just not going to change.
They still get the TV draw for sure. And I think Purdue had didn't they have a home and home with Texas a couple of years ago? But you'd want to get those big games in your own building too. Rather than playing the neutral court games.
Yeah, well, it's just going to be a heck of a year this year, though. I mean, especially for Indiana, they've got to get through that rough schedule. But it's going to help them at the end of the season, no matter what, because last year we saw how they barely made it into the NCAA tournament on the heels of that great run. So they're going to need this schedule and some wins off of this schedule as well to get there. They can't go 0-4 through that schedule.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to. But even if you do, and they're all close, tight games, you learn a lot about your team, and then maybe it sets you up really well for the Big Ten schedule. So,
I mean, there are several ranked teams. Obviously, Xavier's probably going to be ranked. Kansas is going to be ranked. North Carolina preseason #1. So you're going to have a gauntlet to go through. We got lots more to get to as well. Speaking of a gauntlet, Hoosier Hysteria, all kinds of stuff to talk about. College World Series. K-Bro is with us. Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers. Make sure you give him a follow and give me one as well. Make sure you check out our great sponsors. And if you're in Southern Indiana looking for a home down around the Louisville, Jeffersonville, New Albany area, make sure you check in with Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. They've been serving Southern Indiana for nearly 3 decades. Check in with Matt Pop, Matt@barbarapop.com. Also, if you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, then you just need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. It could be the difference in you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with K-Bro right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
When did they announce the Gavitt games? Yesterday? What time? I missed that.
They haven't announced it. I think it was broken by Rothstein.
John Rothstein did it.
Mike DeCourcy broke the story.
Xavier. John Rothstein, what did I call him the other day? I called him a mensch. I think that mensch, John Rothstein.
You called him a mensch?
Because he broke something else. Oh, that ticked us off was the North Carolina thing on Friday. It was supposed to be embargoed. We all knew it, and we were waiting for 10 a.m., and then freaking John Rothstein tweets it out at 9 o'clock in the morning. I said, that mensch.
Sorry for the dog barking.
Kevin's on his what's the name of that play? The Christmas play? The Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah, the mensch.
Fiddler on the Roof. Kevin's playing his role on Fiddler on the Roof.
John Rothstein, that mensch.
How is Mr. Mike DeCourcy doing?
I'm doing well this morning. How are you guys?
Cannot complain, sir.
Does cannot complain imply that normally you would complain?
Actually, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. I can't complain because nobody cares. I can't complain because nobody wants to listen. I can't complain because things are well. Yeah, there's you can go all kinds of different ways.
So we'll be going to Cincy for football and basketball then.
That's true.
Yeah. Nippert Stadium in September, and then that game is probably in November. That game's usually in November, right? The Xavier game.
Yes. Yeah, the Gavitt games will be in November.
Yeah. And I'll be going to Cincy on Monday. Mets and the Reds, 4th of July, baby.
When? Oh man. Are you really? When?
Yeah.
This weekend?
Monday. The game's on Monday. Yeah, it's on 4th of July. Yeah. Because their series is Monday through Wednesday. Yeah. Yeah.
Who are you going with?
I'm meeting a buddy of mine. This guy, Joe, he lives in Bloomington. He's a huge Mets fan. I've done games with him before, but he's actually going to be down there. He's staying overnight, but I'm not going to stay. I'm not going to do 2 games. I'm just going to do the 1 game on Monday and then drive back. So should be fun.
Yeah.
Let's go Mets.
I want to ride over this. I don't know if I want to ride over just to see the Reds get kicked.
Yeah.
What is the...
All right, 30 seconds, guys.
Mike, is your latest?
Go ahead.
On
you have some
on Deshaun?
Yeah, that's today. Yeah, just popped.
Okay, I just want to make sure that was.
All right.
Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by BB's Market in Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is a beautiful Tuesday out. Appreciate you joining us. Kevin Brockway, K-Bro alongside. Mike DeCourcy joins us from the Sporting News, senior writer from the Sporting News. Mike, how are you doing, sir?
I am well, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. It's been rather slow, and now all of a sudden all kinds of things are kind of, well, just nice little tidbits to talk about. I saw there was a list that came out, which doesn't mean a lot, but I use backcourt listed at number 2. You've got the Xavier game with Sean Miller in the Gavitt game. Some excitement. Hoosier Hysteria is going to be Hoosier or homecoming weekend. So all kinds of stuff going on, and then you've got Kyrie Irving opting into a nice big fat deal. All kinds of good fun things happening in the sports world. And then we've got your latest piece on Deshaun Watson, which definitely want to talk about because it's almost incomprehensible. But all kinds of things that finally started to happen this week, Mike.
Yeah, we still have the NBA draft we haven't talked about. One of the interesting things about the NBA draft before we move on to next season is the fact that we had 8 players who were one and dones, 8 players who were one and dones who were drafted in the second round. And when you look at guys like Ben Mathurin, who's coming here to Indy, good for the Pacers, nice pick. You look at Jaden Ivey, who was the 4th overall player selected. And then you compare them to guys like Caleb Houston and Max Christie, particularly Max Christie, Moussa Diabate, Kennedy Chandler. Those guys all blew it, Jim. They either got bad advice or made bad decisions. And Max Christie, I could have told you the day he filed that he was no way a first-round pick at this stage of his career. He wasn't physically strong enough. He wasn't productive enough at Michigan State. He's got great ability. So he goes in as a second-round pick. It's a bad move. You only get one chance. This is what I always say, Jim. You only get one chance to enter the NBA through the front door. And there are guys who make that mistake, and then eventually kind of recover by playing so well that eventually the team has to give them a great contract, or someone has to give them a great contract, something like that. But you miss that chance to enter through the front door, and spending an extra year in college, especially now that we have name, image, and likeness, and Kevin and his team at CNHI did a great piece on Monday about the name, image, and likeness. Especially with that now, you can make money in the short term. You don't have to go just to get paid. You should go when it's prudent. And those 3-4 Big Ten guys, Caleb Houston, Max Christie, Moussa Diabate, those 3 guys from the Big Ten, they all made a significant mistake because they all have first round talent, but they hadn't gotten there yet. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Jaden wasn't a first round pick a year ago. Maybe somebody at the end of the first round would have taken him because he's got so much talent in the way that you saw Peyton Watson go off the board at the end of the first round this year. But he's going to go in the front door now. I mean, he's going to get a much better contract. He's going to get much better opportunity to be featured. He's going to, he's now a household name because of how dynamic and exciting he is. So he'll get more endorsements. There's no longer, like, if you are Paolo Banchero, of course, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith. I mean, of course, do it. I'm not against being one and done. But you have to go when it's your time. And those 8 players all missed significantly because they all, I mean, there isn't any guy on that list that I don't think has potential first round ability. But it was clear they were most likely not going to be selected in the first round. I don't think there's anybody on this list except maybe Kennedy Chandler. And, he had the problem of being, only 6 feet tall. But out of the 8 players, there wasn't anybody on that list that didn't have first-round ability, significant first-round ability. Kendall Brown, are you kidding me? That guy's a lottery pick, but he's not a lottery pick now.
Kofi Coburn is probably missed his time, maybe.
By 15 years.
his era, which is mind-boggling because you look at that guy who can dominate so much, but there's just no place for him, really. I don't want to say no place, but there's not a customary place for a guy like that in the NBA now, and it's mind-boggling.
It really is. It's amazing how much the game has changed in a very short period of time. For a handy label, I call it the Steph Curry revolution. I mean, he really changed the game, and a lot of people followed that. I know it wasn't just him, that there was a lot of strategy involved and everything, but it's a handy label for how basketball has changed in a short period. That if Kofi Coburn had been born 15 years earlier, he would have been a top 5 pick. It's that simple. It would have been, and he would have been a top 5 pick probably after his first year, and at the very least after his second. Instead, he goes totally undrafted after having a really significant year as a sophomore at Illinois. I'm honestly surprised he didn't come back. I'm not sure. Maybe he got tired of just getting hammered in the low post. He was one of those players that was not well officiated. Teams felt that they had no other chance other than to just pound on him, and so they did.
Hack-a-Shack, maybe.
I'm sorry?
The Hack-a-Shack.
Yeah, and just that physicality that you can get away with on a 7-foot, 280-pound center that you can't get away with on a 6'6", 180-pound wing. They're not going to let you do that, but they do let you do it on a big guy. I've never thought that's fair, but it's kind of the way it's been in basketball for a very long time.
But Mike, to your point, I think that you look at guys like Oscar Tshiebwe, you look at Hunter Dickinson, you look at Trace. They made the right call because they would have been borderline, if not. I mean, watching that draft and being in the Pacers, so many wings went, and you just didn't have. I mean, the whole draft was pretty much 6'4" to 6'6", 6'4" to 6'7" versatile guys. That's what the NBA covets now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a shame that Hunter made the smart decision to come back. And again, Caleb Houston and Moussa Diabate, if those guys return, I mean, Michigan's a top 5 team in the country. And I don't understand what they saw out there to make the decision to go and be taken in the middle of the second round. I think Caleb was taken early in the second round, Moussa a little bit later than that. It is punitive to give up that opportunity to be selected in the first round, especially now that the money you can get in college through your name, image, and likeness it's not significantly different. It's less. I'm not going to pretend it's not, but it's not significantly different than you might get as a second round pick. It certainly isn't different than you would get on a 2-way contract. I mean, I guarantee you, Oscar Tshiebwe is going to make more money than anybody on a 2-way in the 2022-23 season.
Trace Jackson Davis will make more than anybody on a 2-way, and he's not making probably half of what Tshiebwe's making, but yet probably double or maybe even possibly triple what he could make otherwise.
Right.
And he has the opportunity now, even though he's had that for a few years, but to improve his game, which he needs to do, or he's going to be a little bit in that similar situation as Coburn with that limited offensive game, but he has the opportunity to add to his game this extra season.
I think Kevin would agree with this, though. Although his offensive game hasn't blossomed in quite the way one would want, I think that it is better. It just hasn't been demonstrated to be better. And 2, has he not, Kevin, made significant strides defensively? And,
without a doubt.
And
Being
so it's both sides.
Being an all Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. And I think some of that too is how Mike Woodson is using him as opposed to how Archie Miller used him in terms of, being able to come over on the weak side and block shots and so forth and having that ability.
Absolutely. And I think that's what will give him a better chance, but he still has to improve on the offense. I mean, he without question. And that's something that we know he wants. So I don't know that you can do that one season, though. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while.
You can. You absolutely can. We see players improve all the time, and he has improved. It just hasn't. There's a significant leap he needs to make in terms of his perimeter ability, his perimeter offensive ability. And I'm not sure that it has to necessarily be at the 3-point line, but it has to happen. He's got to get better as a jump shooter. And my one concern about this is that Indiana has taken on such a monstrous schedule that how do you say, okay, well, we'll go out and we'll play Xavier on the road and we'll play Carolina at home. And those are the ones that were kind of forced upon them, but they knew that was going to happen. And we'll just experiment here with Trace. You can't experiment much when you're playing Carolina, man. You got to get buckets and because you want to win the game. And that's a big part of what this season's about. It's certainly what Mike was hired to do. So, he's going to have to work really hard this summer.
Maybe those 7 other non-conference games against Merrimack or something like that.
You got to really make sure some of those games give you some opportunities.
Yeah.
But this work has to be done in the summer so that when he goes into practice in the fall and when he plays exhibitions, that he has great confidence, that he really knows and believes that shot's going to go in as often as not. He's got to have that. So I don't know what his plan is for the summer, but his whole basketball future in a lot of ways depends on what he has done since they lost to St. Mary's and what he will continue to do from now until September. It's really a pivotal summer in his growth and development because it's kind of his last chance in college. It's still out there for you. I mean, we saw players that were 4-year players get selected in the first round in this draft. So it's not this impossibility. It all depends on how you perform. And you're right about the wings, Kev. I mean, that's their focus. But the first 3 guys that went off the board were all power forwards to an extent. I don't know what you want to classify Chet Holmgren as. I don't know what he is. But they were all power forwards. So there is still a market for that guy. That stretch 4 or that small ball 5. I mean, that guy's huge now. And you look at someone like Bam Adebayo. I think Trace can be a similar player. He's not quite as physically big. He doesn't have the big shoulders that Bam has, but he's pretty strong. And I think he can play small ball 5 for a lot of teams. But again, the key to that is passing from the high post and, obviously defense and rebounding and being as great a threat from that elbow area as you can possibly be so that teams have to guard you there. If they can sag to the post or stay adhered to the wings, then you can't play that small ball 5 in the post.
Well, this is without a question, I think the most he has worked on it. As much as it's been talked about, this is the most he's worked on it. He's been to LA. He's been working out with guys. He has been actively trying to get to work on the things that he needs to get to that next level, which I don't know that he was really doing before. He wasn't really, I don't know that he had the right tutelage to do those things before. But I think that he was much more focused on those things over this particular summer. Now he's back with the team, so that's within the frame of the team or the frame of the team now. But I think he would work. This is probably the most effort that he has put in on it over the summer, without question.
And that's, I will say that one thing people don't understand about NBA players is how absurdly they work in the offseason. I mean, when you look at the amount of money that LeBron James is now literally a billionaire. He was declared a billionaire by Forbes or whoever keeps score on that, Fortune, whoever. He's a billionaire, and yet in the summer you'll see, instead of kicking it in Monaco or something, which is what I'd be doing if I were
exactly.
He's out. He's in a gym somewhere taking 500 jump shots or whatever. It's crazy. I've been in the gym when he worked out in the summer once, and another time when Kevin Durant was, in Vegas, out there for the July stuff, and happened to be in a gym when Kevin got worked out. And I'm like, it's crazy. Why would you do this to yourself? Because they love it. It's because they have that hunger to be great, and they understand that their window is very short. Well, if those guys are out there doing that, you're not those guys. Whether you're Kevin Durant or Moussa Diabate or whoever, you're not those guys. You're far from it now. So you have to work just to try to catch up to them, just to try to be worthy of being on the floor with them. And I'm happy to hear your words about Trace, because I like him as a young man. He's always been very easy to deal with, and I want him to have a great future in the game. And it'd be cool if Indiana has takes another step forward this season as a basketball program.
We're sitting with the great senior sports editor of the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy. Kevin Brockway from CNHI with us as well. We got lots more coming back. Some NFL to talk about as the Cleveland Browns taking on the mess that is Deshaun Watson. That and much more brought to you by the Wow Club. Make sure you go there and sign up at your Apple App Store or Google Play Store. It's a totally free app. Start earning Wow Rewards today. Wow Rewards members earn exclusive discounts, dining dollars to spend, and much more. Sent directly to your phone. Back with that and much more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out, but Mike, they've settled 20 out of 24 cases or whatever it is.
They have, but
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding, man. I'm being totally facetious. When I saw that number, I was like, "Oh, okay. You've settled 20. You settled 20 out of the 24. Wow, that's nice."
It's unbelievable. I mean, this is one of the most. This is one of the. Even you take out what's happened since February, and just up to February, it's one of the craziest, oddest, most egregious stories in sports that we've seen. And then you add in giving him $230 million and giving up 3 first-round picks and 3 more later-round picks for him. I've just never seen anything like it. I can't, I wrote in my column that the deal on its face at the time seemed so ridiculous and stupid that it almost seemed like it was so stupid that they must have some knowledge of something that no one else does. And now here we are on the eve of the hearing, and the Wall Street Journal saying that they're pushing for a suspension of a year or more, and it's like, it doesn't seem like they did know any better than anybody else. They just decided to roll all their dice on this guy, and I don't know how you can do that. I don't know how you can be, an NFL team and put so much on one player who's got such a problematic track record.
Yeah, I'm going to ask, is the NFL the only league that would do this?
No, I mean, you mean as a team or as a league?
As a league. I mean, this is about as bad. I'm trying to think.
Trevor Bauer got suspended 2 years in Major League Baseball.
That's what I'm saying. They suspended him for 2 years.
Right.
They're doing nothing here.
No. There will be a punishment announced in the next week, according to the Wall Street Journal.
But is it going to be substantial?
The Journal said that they were pushing for an indefinite suspension of at least a year. And they tried to negotiate a plea deal, so to speak, with the Players Association and Deshaun for a year. And I don't know what stipulation there was that that side disagreed with.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday. A great day because we have Mike DeCourcy and Kevin Brockway together. Mike, of course, senior writer from the Sporting News, K-Bro with CNHI Papers. Just a quick check of the National League standings. The Reds are still in last, Mike.
I don't think that's changing, man. Not this year.
15 and a half games back, baby, but they've won. They're on a streak. They've won one game in a row.
Oh, Kevin cannot wait to get to Cincinnati so he can watch his Mets chew up the Reds.
I can't wait.
He hopes they chew up the Reds. If they don't, that's going to be embarrassing.
I was going to say, I can't wait to get to the trade deadline so we can maybe pluck Luis Castillo from you guys too, because we could use another arm.
Oh, no.
I was watching the game the other night. It was the White Sox, and I'm like, damn it, there's Johnny Cueto. I'm like, daggone it. You can look around Major League Baseball, and on every team, some of their great players, former Red. It's like, it just makes you just want to punch the TV, man. They have such an all-star list of guys they've gotten rid of. Do the Reds lead the major leagues in all-stars that they've gotten rid of? I think that may be the case.
That's a stat somebody's going to have to look up.
I'm telling you. If you're a follower of Mike's writing, and you should be because he's one of the absolute best in the country, you'll know that one of his latest pieces is about the magnitude of Brown's brainless deal for Deshaun Watson. If you followed that story, it's mind-boggling to me. He's had 24 accusations by women who have alleged that he engaged in sexual misconduct. 20 of those cases have been settled outside of court. And now the Browns are just falling all over themselves to get him into their organization, it seems like still, which it's mind-boggling to me. I mean, it's just one of the few places in the world where you can do that and get away with it and be so coveted.
I'm not convinced yet he's gotten away with it. I mean, he did have to pay. Well, obviously he's got more than enough money to do that. He did not get indicted by a grand jury in the Houston area. They chose not to do that, although there was a subsequent story that one of the police who investigated that case said that he absolutely should have been, at least in her opinion. So there's that. And then there's the fact that he's been investigated by the National Football League as well over the course of the last several months. And there will be a hearing. They did originally suggested it'd be today, and then it became a little bit more nebulous, so it may not be today, but it will be soon, and there will be a punishment issued soon. Possibly, the Wall Street Journal reported, possibly in advance of the 4th of July, and they expect that the NFL is pushing, according to their sources, for a suspension of an indefinite suspension of at least a year. They tried to arrange, for lack of a better term, let's call it a deal rather than anything else, a deal with Watson and the Players Association for him to be suspended for a year. But there was some condition in that discussion that led to ultimately not making a deal. So there's still the NFL, and there's a independent body that will make the ruling according to the NFL Players Association collective bargaining agreement. There's an independent arbiter who will make the initial ruling. So I'm not sure exactly what her view will be of the NFL's push, but that's what they're trying to get at the minimum of a year. And so the Browns have invested 3 first-round picks, a third and 2 fourths, plus a contract that will pay him roughly $55 million a year for the next 4 years. This year, it's a lower hit because they expected the suspension. So this year, he's got a lower contract number and a lower cap hit, but he was given a massive signing bonus, which, of course, is guaranteed. And the Browns are kind of stuck with him now. And if he is suspended for this season, when he arrives on the field for the opener of the 23 NFL season, he will have not played, I believe the number is in 908 days. So that's nearly 3 years with him not being on the football field, and you have made him a quarter of your salary cap. I just can't, I'm sorry, but I just can't understand why any team would do something like that. Plus,
go ahead.
Plus, you put the stain on your team of agreeing to do business with someone who has this track record.
And your city.
Yeah, I don't. Well, no, I mean, if I'm living in Cleveland, I'm not taking any of the heat for him. I mean, I'm like, that's those guys. But
what does that say? What does that say to the women of?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how. I don't know how they justify that to those women. I don't know how you justify what's happened in this case. Just look at the basics of it. You can claim, because the grand jury didn't indict, it's not criminal. Okay, cool. It's still horrid. I mean, there's just no way it's not, in my opinion. Watson, may get to play next year, may get to play this year. We don't know, but that doesn't mean that what happened here is not really difficult to accept.
Well, plus you look at the female employees of the Cleveland Brown, well, whatever the heck they are, or the Cleveland's organization now, especially in light of Washington's case and Dan Snyder and everything that goes on there. And Cleveland is basically like telling their female employees, don't worry about it. We're bringing this perpetual, whatever you want to call him in. But that's okay. We respect you. Don't worry about it. It's not.
The column I wrote divorces the football argument from a lot of that. I wrote a column last fall that talked about the uncomfortability of anybody pursuing him at that point when we still didn't have the grand jury result or the settled lawsuits or whatever. And I wrote about how it's pretty disgraceful for anybody at that point to be going after him, let alone, now that we've seen the massive assets that have been spent to acquire him and the ridiculous dollar figure that was spent on him to get him a contract. I mean, who are you bidding against for this guy, right? I mean, I don't think that the Browns really thought this one through. It's really it's a hard thing to understand. I mean, I looked at their salary cap for next year because you're taking and you're giving a $55 million cap hit to one player, and then you add in some other high-priced players. They've got 9 players in next season who will add up to $170 million of the cap. 9 players out of 53 player roster will consume 75% of their salary cap. I mean, you're basically going to have, if you keep all those players, you're going to have to pay every other player on your roster minimum salary to stay under the cap. And, either that or you're going to have to start throwing over some really good players in order to accommodate that $55 million cap hit.
There can't be very, very many happy players, Kevin, that are having be on the receiving end and blocking end that are not getting paid because he's getting all the money.
Yeah, and Myles Garrett is certainly a franchise player there, an excellent pass rusher. Whenever the Cleveland Browns play, whenever they play the Jets, he's just been a beast. I mean, he's just torn our quarterbacks in half, and I think that's the guy that you look at the Browns. I've always, and there was a lot of hype around Baker Mayfield, but that's the guy I think that's always been their franchise player is Myles Garrett. I mean, he is just, and he's had his own issues. Obviously, he had the issues with the Steelers, but you can't deny that he is a tremendously talented pass rusher. But, what are you going to do? If you have all this money tied up on Deshaun Watson and he wants his payday, it's that's going to be interesting, I think.
But why do they chase it? I mean, Mike, you got the Colts. They needed a quarterback, so they go out and they make the Matt Ryan thing happen. And I know that there may be other situations contractually that have played into this, and that I'm not privy to. But why in the world would anybody go after Deshaun Watson? It's not like I know he's a good quarterback, but he's not been Peyton Manning. He hasn't been Tom Brady. He has.
He has a significant talent, but you look at it. I mean, this is his last 2 years are throw 33 touchdowns against 7 picks, but still go 4-12. That's 2 years ago, and then this past year, not play a single game, a single down. He did not play. So those are your last 2 years, and on that, you're investing $55 million a year. And again, it's not about the money. Like in football terms, it's not about the money. It's about percentage of salary cap. So the figure is exorbitant, but it's exorbitant because your salary cap next year, if it goes up 20 million from this year's 208, basically $230 million. So you're giving nearly a fourth of your salary cap to one player. And again, if that player is Patrick Mahomes, don't think any of us, we'd all say, okay, we'll see how we can fix it so we can. But the other thing is that the smart organizations and the smart players have understood is that you don't want to be making that much money. If you're going to do this and put your literal health on the line week after week, you're doing it because, you want to make a bunch of money, but also you want to win some games. And when Tom Brady was winning Super Bowls with the Patriots, he was not taking what would be, the most possible money available. He was always playing on team-friendly deals. Patrick Mahomes signed a huge contract, and it's for a very long term, and he's going to make $250 million. But it's over a much longer period of time than Deshaun Watson will make the same money. Okay, he could have made more money, but his team wouldn't be able to win more games. If you're winning the Super Bowl, you either have an all-time great on a team-friendly deal like those teams do, or you have a all-time great on a rookie deal like Mahomes was still when the Chiefs won their Super Bowl in 2019, I think it was. You have to have that. You can't give all your money to one player in a league like the NFL where you really literally need 50 guys to win a Super Bowl. You need one. Obviously, you need significant quarterback play, but you have to have play from everybody in every facet of the game in order to be that great.
And you think about how shrewd that investment is for a guy like Tom Brady. You set yourself up for life after football. You're a celebrity. You're a broadcaster after your career ends. Endorsements. It really pays in the long run to do something like that. If you play for winning teams, that adulation and that celebrity and that chance for endorsement follows.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And, Mahomes was criticized by some, particularly I think from the agent type community or the people who, report on the base, using sources from the agent community. And he was criticized for taking the team friendly deal. But again, like you're out there and if you don't have good players around you, it doesn't, for one, you could get crushed by a bad offensive line, or two, you don't have good enough guys to catch all the footballs you're throwing, and it becomes a pointless exercise. This isn't the NBA where if you get a max deal, as long as the owner is willing to pay the luxury tax, you can go way over the cap. You can't do that in the NFL. You can only go to 208 and change this year. That's it. I mean, that's why you, as a quarterback, don't necessarily want to max out your money. In Watson's case, he maxed it out, so his team's going to be diminished. Not just, and again, we're just talking strictly football here. His team is going to be diminished because they made that deal, and yet they made it anyway. I think in the end, it's going to be one of those deals. Like people still talk about the Herschel Walker trade. It's going to be one of those deals that people talk about forever as one that an NFL team really bungled.
Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. What's coming up next for you?
Tonight, the U.S. women's national team plays their last pre-CONCACAF W Championship friendly. They will go to Mexico starting on July 4th for the tournament that will qualify teams for both the Women's World Cup, which is next year in Australia, and then the Olympic Games, Paris in 2024. I think they have to win this tournament in order to qualify automatically for the Olympics. So this is their last prep game before that. Women's national team has undergone some significant changes. There are a lot of new faces, a lot of new names out there. Injuries have taken out quite a few of the regulars. Some of the others are starting to sort of age out, but you still see Alex Morgan out there. She's been playing tremendously in the National Women's Soccer League this year. And so she got some time the other night. Rose Lavelle from Cincinnati was brilliant when they played this same Columbia team on Saturday. So they need to continue to tune that up to be ready for Mexico next week.
Make sure you give him a follow. If you don't, you should. He's a 20-year plus member of the Sporting News and a United States Basketball Writers Hall of Famer, baby. We're fortunate to have you each week, Mike. Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
We're back with more Kevin Brockway as we'll get with Kevin to talk about the NIL series that you guys have got going at the CNHI and much more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at BB's Market. BB's is your local meat shop, steakhouse, and caterer, no matter where you live. Some of the best custom meats around. Visit bbsmarket.com for online catering. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda.
John, am I doing okay with the echo or no? Or
yeah,
you're
that's
good.
gone. I haven't noticed it since earlier, so you're fine.
Okay, good. All right. I'm still trying to turn the volume up a little bit so I can hear, but try to keep it not at full blast. So
I don't understand how you have the headphones in. How is that even an issue?
I don't know.
What's an issue?
Well, I mean, it's not an issue now, but it was. But he had his computer volume up to hear us, but he has his headphones in.
But when I had it up full blast, it was creating an echo, so I had to turn it down a little bit.
Or
So
it's
it was
because you're
coming
not
out of your
using.
headphones.
Yeah, you're not. Is it shoved in all the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Shoving it in.
Shoving it in.
Okay, do I have an echo now or no?
No, you're
Nope.
good.
Okay.
No echo.
What are we talking about with Kevin Brockway here? His NIL something? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, NIL.
Are we is Chronic coming out or no? Or are we just
He'll come in on the next segment.
Okay.
You want to wait to talk about NIL? We can.
No, we'll do it now. Yeah, no, it's good. That'd be a
That's
good time to do it.
That's good. Good. NIL.
I'll be glad when this series is over. Trust me. And then next week, and then in 2 weeks, I'm going on vacation. So I think the week of the, last thing wasn't a vacation, but
I'm not talking about last week.
I'm going away on the week of the 11th. So I think what would that be, like the 12th? I won't be here. Yeah, 12th of July. Yeah.
On the 8th, next Friday, you're going to have Joe again because I'm filling in on good old Tony Cruz.
Guys, stop throwing that stuff at me right now.
It's just that time of year right now. Everybody's taking vacations. Yep. Everybody's got to fill in.
Yep. Yeah, next week I might be a little tired because I'll be driving back from Cincinnati in the middle of the night.
Oh, I might be a little tired.
What are you going to do?
I might be a little tired.
Well, hopefully I'll be celebrating a Mets win.
Decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our great friends Andy Moore Honda. Get more to your door with AndyMoore.com, AndyMooreHonda.com as well as Feast Market and Cellar, all part of the WOW Club and the WOW Network. Make sure you go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store. Sign up. It's totally free app. Start earning WOW rewards today. WOW Club members earn exclusive discounts, dining dollars to spend, and more sent directly to your mobile phone. They are a sponsor of IU Athletics. Support those who support you. Kevin Brockway from CNHI Papers with me now. Looking over, you guys started a series on NIL. And appropriately, one of the stories you guys are looking at is that your alma mater at Miami with Nigel Pack is the NCAA is looking into that. What's the NCAA looking into? What in the world? What the hell is the NCAA going to do now? It cracks me up. It's like, what are you going to come along and do now? You guys, you screwed this whole mess up, and now you think you're going to come along and be John Sheriff? No, I don't understand, but what are they looking into?
Well, no, whether it was used as a recruiting inducement, which is supposed
they're
to
all
be
recruiting inducements. That's the joke of the thing. Every freaking one of them are recruiting inducements, and anybody that says otherwise is a freaking moron. They're lying to themselves. Of course, they're recruiting inducements. What else would they be? And I don't understand. It's like yesterday watching the College World Series. When did you see where the guy was running inside the first base path and ended up getting called out, and Oklahoma lost a run, and the announcer kept saying, well, as the rule's written. Well, how's it supposed to be written? I played baseball when I was a kid, and it's been my whole life. You can't run inside the base path. It's always been the damn rule. So why were they making such a big deal out of it? Of course, this is an inducement. When you give $50,000 to an unnamed offensive lineman at Texas, that's a recruiting inducement. They're all recruiting inducements. You give $100,000 to somebody, that's a recruiting inducement. And the ignorance and hypocrisy of acting that it's anything else is just maybe the most hypocritical thing that the NCAA has ever done, and that's saying something.
Yeah, and I think that, that's the problem, is that they could never figure it out. They could never figure out how to enforce, how that was going to happen. But we know this has been going on forever. I mean, right now it's above board. They don't like it to be above board. They don't like the appearance of it, but I think it's here to stay. And I I don't know if there's necessarily a leg to stand on. And, as Tom Allen said in my story yesterday, I mean, if it's speeding and everyone's doing it and no one's being patrolled, then, what's really the point? Everyone's going to speed. And right now, you have that situation, and you also have a situation with tampering, but they can always go back to the gray area of saying, hey, look, he accepted this after he enrolled, not before he enrolled. And that's going to be the defense, and it's going to hold water. And I think any challenges in court based on the Alston case, or any enforcement that's going to, is going to go to court. And based on the Alston precedent, I think it's just going to be really hard to enforce those rules. But we have more stories coming. We have one, certainly that Mike discussed about the impact of the draft and underclassmen making decisions. The fact that they have this avenue now, they can go back. A story I'm excited about too is the impact on smaller sports. I interviewed Antoine Davis, Mike Davis's son, about what he's doing with his NIL money, sharing it with the teammates, and how agent created basically a market for him by comparing him to Steph Curry at Davidson, being the leading scorer in the NCAA. So impact on women's sports too. I talked to Grace Berger, Mackenzie Holmes. So we have a full series of stories coming out this week. Really excited about some of the content we have coming out as we approach the 1 year anniversary of NIL, which has certainly created more of a mess. And then, what's the next step? I mean, are they going to be employees? Is that going to be the next step? Are we going to see that 3 or 4 years down the road, where student athletes will be classified as employees, and then you'll start to have deals that are collectively bargained.
Yeah, you've got another kid with Miami that the quarterback that is making some waves over your Florida Gators. Used to cover for Florida, so he chose Miami over Florida.
Was he an offensive lineman or a quarterback?
No, this is a quarterback. Jaden Rashada. Jaden Rashada committed yesterday, but it's like, what's the controversy? I don't understand what the controversy is. These guys are acting like, well, of course they are. Of course they're going to outbid you. Yeah, it cracks me up. It's just like nothing has put this in better perspective than Nick Saban bitching and moaning about Texas A&M buying players when Alabama has been doing nothing but buying players for a long time.
Yeah.
In various ways, in one way or another. So it cracks. And how fast did Saban shut his mouth?
Yeah.
The second that Jimbo Fisher says, you want to know where the bodies are buried? I know where the bodies are buried. He shut his mouth so fast. I've never seen a guy shut his mouth so fast.
Let's take a look at the context of who Nick Saban was addressing. He was addressing business leaders from Alabama. So I think he was saying in that context to them that, it was taken in that context, but I think he was telling his business leaders, hey, look, you have to step up and match Texas A&M. I think that's what he was really doing.
Ryan Day didn't mince no words. He told them it's going to cost us $13 million a year to give you the lineup that you want. He came right out and said it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I know, I think the NCAA is mortified that these numbers are coming out, but as I mentioned,
I don't think they expected this.
As I mentioned in my story, yesterday, they're powerless to stop it. I don't think they really have a leg to stand on to stop. Now, I talked to one sports legal expert that thinks that they might if they challenge it in court. But here's the other thing too about the enforcement arm. Kansas was implicated in the FBI probe in 2017. We're still waiting for any kind of punishment to hand down. They win the national championship in 2022. So what kind of confidence do they have that any kind of discipline would be handed down swiftly, for that matter?
The NCAA couldn't stop people when it was illegal. So how in the hell are they going to stop them now that they've made it legal? That's the joke of it. And now they're making a bigger deal out of it that it is legal. That's what cracks me up. I think the biggest fear is they're seeing the money that used to the millions and millions of dollars that used to pour in is now going to other people. And it ain't them. It's not the NCAA tournament. Are they worried about that? Are they worried about the dollars being lost to the schools? Is that because I don't think they expected these numbers to be this exorbitant. They did not expect kids to be getting paid $400,000 a year to go play basketball at Miami. I just don't think they were expecting this.
Yeah. But we'll see it,
which is no surprise. When have they ever been right?
We'll see A, if it's sustainable, and B, if the market corrects itself because of the fact that, what if Jaden Rashada is a bust? I mean, we've seen plenty of 5-stars that are bust, you know what I mean? And you're stuck with all that money.
You've seen it in the NFL. You've seen quarterbacks get drafted. It doesn't matter what league it is, the NBA. I mean, you've seen so many top draft picks not work out, and they lose millions of dollars. So it happens at every level, and that's going to happen here. And I think you're right, but it's also it's an opportunity for guys that have money, stupid kind of money, to become part of stuff. There are certain people that do things just to be near a program, whether it's near the IU basketball program, acting like an idiot or whatever it is that you want to do that gets you near that program, you'll do whatever it is. And if it's people that have money, if they can buy their way in, they'll buy their way in, whatever the case is.
No, we're all pretty, and a lot of people that are sports fans are pretty passionate and they lose their mind. I mean, take a look at the money we spend for average fans spend for tickets as well. They will spend beyond their means. An average sports fan will, if it means, gaining access or getting closer to teams or even going to games. And I think that people lose their mind over sports with money. And, if you have big money, as we've seen, the big money people are going to spend. And if they're going to spend to procure talent, I mean, this has been going on since, we can go back to the, 30 for 30 on Pony Excess in the 80s, with SMU, which got the death penalty. I mean, they were ahead of their time, right? With all the Dallas business leaders giving money.
Oh, dude, are you kidding me? Go back to Texas A&M with
Jackie Sherrill?
No, way before that, baby. I'm talking about the old Alabama coach.
The Bear,
when he was at Texas. Man, are you kidding me? Come on.
Adolph Rupp, was implicated in scandals at Kentucky, yeah.
Been going on forever. These people have been cheating forever. So give me a break. But like I said, the fact that they have been able to stop it while it was illegal. So to pretend that you're going to do something now that it's legal, give me a break.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing is they're trying to get congressional involvement, but Congress has a lot on their plate that's more important than policing college sports.
And what is Congress going to do or say that, well, you've said that these guys can make money now. You can't are you going to put a limit on it? How do you put a limit on what someone can
Congress can give them an antitrust exemption, and if they do that, then the NCAA will have the power again to create limits and regulate. But until then, between the state legislation and between the Alston decision right now, the NCAA is really powerless to put any kind of limits on what's going on right now.
Yep. And unless that changes, it's just going to continue to be the wild, wild west. I do think it will settle down at some point, but it's never going to stop. I mean, what if your dude from Amazon, Bezos, like I said, we've already talked about that. I think his grandfather or something, or his dad went to New Mexico State. If he decided now, it would still take him 600. I saw a story that it would take someone to take an ordinary program like in Indiana per se, $600 million to turn them into a winner in the Big Ten, which that sounds crazy since we just saw them almost at that point 2 years ago, but did we really see them there? Because that was during COVID. I'm not sure. But that was the story, and that's the numbers that came out. I don't know how accurate that really is. It's over time of getting up and getting your recruiting up and to the constant. Maybe it's true, especially when you got a place like Ohio State who is already there, and they're telling you it's going to take them $13 million a year just to keep the current salary of players that they're going to need.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I do think with talent procurement, though, there's always that story. There's always the story of like the Robert Williams from Texas A&M, the 2-star great athlete that doesn't get discovered. Tim Duncan from the Virgin Islands. You can find guys. You can find diamonds in the rough. You can develop them, and you could maybe have your run. But for sustainable success, it's going to be tremendously difficult. But you might have that. I think you still have the magical seasons. You still have the St. Peter's out there, and those are going to be even greater stories now, I think, in the NIL era, having those, Davids versus Goliaths, which is why I hope that, the NCAA Division Transformation Committee, in being in Indianapolis earlier this month, talked a lot about, fully funded scholarships and so forth. And, the potential of paring down Division I. And I just hope that doesn't happen, because then you're going to really ruin the NCAA tournament if you make it a bunch of power conference teams and not have those smaller commuter schools like St. Peter's that can, come up and bite you, the Cleveland States of the world.
We'll certainly say, hey, we got to take a break, but that's okay. It means when we come back, Chronic Hoosier's going to be with us. Looking forward to that as always. Brought to you by our good friends at Feast Market and Cellar, a part of the Wild Club. Make sure you stop by, located next door to Southern Stone Restaurant on Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington. They offer extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff because they take their pairing seriously. and help you as well. They also provide a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, coffee bar, bread, and pastries, all mouth-watering. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio on Chronic Hoosier right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting women,
Sommelier.
A sommelier.
Wine taster. All right, I'm going to go downstairs, get some more coffee.
Oh, I thought you were going to get some wine to taste.
Morning wine.
That sounds
Good
like
morning,
a song.
Chronic.
Good morning.
How are you, brother?
That's the worst part of coming back from vacation is you go to pour that coffee and your first instinct is put some whiskey in it. That's what you've done for the last week. And you're like, no, I got to put on pants today. I can't do that.
Put on pants. How are you doing, man?
I am good. We are trying to get caught up from being gone for a week and then just walk back into a shit show at work. Got to go to Missouri tomorrow and go get the old lady a car. And somehow we're going to go do a concert tonight at Deer Creek before all this.
Holy crap. Who's up there tonight?
Dead and Company. Good old
Deer
Grateful
Creek,
Dead.
isn't that the theater that changes names every year?
Yeah, they are the corporate whore of the Midwest when it comes to naming rights.
And now they currently have the worst name. No, it's Ruoff now.
Ruoff Home Mortgage, yes.
It's better than Clippets.
Well, Eclipse, or I think there were like 20 Verizon centers across the country.
Yeah.
It'll always be Deer Creek, just like it'll always be Assembly Hall.
I'm surprised Cincinnati's venue like that, Riverbend, hasn't, succumbed to the corporate sponsorship world. They've always just been Riverbend Music Center.
Yeah, that's an operating officer that is short-sighted. You got to hoard that out in this day and age. Even if it's just $100K, it's $100K you didn't have. Yeah. But those naming rights deals are often 6-8 figures plus. So, I get it. And the only thing that irks me is the journos that feel obligated to describe it by its corporate name. And I understand the AP style and all that, but for God's sakes, it's Assembly Hall. Cindy Simon Scott did not cut me a check to put some shine on her name. Yes.
Well, you have to say that silly name. I have to spell it.
Simon
Scott. It's a good joke.
All right, here we go.
17 through 2021 Honda certified pre-owned Accord, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and Pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Tuesday. Chronic Hoosiers joining us. Kevin Brockway, K-Bro with us along the way from CNH Hot Papers. Hope you're having a great day. First of all, I want to thank Chronic for his whole sponsorship again last week in the Jordan Holes Never Lose Hoop Golf outing. It was a fun event. Thank you again, sir.
I wish I could have been there to join you guys. It seems like every year I have an obligation that's on the books when that date gets announced, but always happy to support Jordan and his family and their cause to help local kids affected by cancer. It's hard to find a more noble cause to support, and those guys do a great job raising awareness, raising funds, and getting lots of good Hoosiers involved in the effort. So tip of the cap to those guys. They always do a great job, and I am always happy to help support those efforts.
Absolutely. We got to hear a couple of those stories at dinner after the event the other day. So it was definitely, it's certainly let you know exactly what you're doing and where everything was going. And then JC Hulls, it took him 20 minutes and 15 of that was just trying to get his composure to talk. JC actually started the foundation when he had cancer. So, but yeah, it's still real for him, man. And it was Just a very cool event, and thanks to everybody. A lot of you guys helped with that, and thank you all so much again. Indiana,
is anybody giving Jordy grief for that? By the way, though, that's the one thing. Like he's fresh on the job, and he's already taken days off to go golfing. He didn't. On that kid's work ethic.
He didn't take a day off. He didn't get to play golf. No, he had to work. Trust me, he had to
back
work.
On the trail.
He had to work, and
he was at Charlie Heath over the weekend, right? Yeah.
And I was getting ready to say, and he was on he had to go on the recruiting trail this past weekend. He was up at the Charlie Hughes, watching all the great Indiana talent that was on display over the weekend, which was a lot.
Yeah, he couldn't have come back at a better time with all the summer tournaments heating up and the showcases and just the recruiting calendar as a whole. I no doubt whatsoever Jordy's hit the ground running here, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see a noticeable impact in relatively short order.
Absolutely. I think that's something Jordan is just getting reaccustomed to. The recruiting aspect of the role is something that he has not done before, but getting reaccustomed to the Indiana head coaches around the state. Yeah, there's going to be no problem them not knowing who he is. That's certainly going to be a great help, but it's just going to be a good help having him on staff. I think he's someone that can talk to these kids from a player standpoint because he just stepped out of his playing shoes, literally not yesterday, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, he got off of a plane from playing and started on the job, Kevin. So that's got to be helpful as well in talking to the players and just having conversations with them, whether it's helping to improve their game, confidence, whatever the case is.
Yeah, and I think too that the fact that he's got so many ties in the state and his dad and so forth and everything like that, he comes in with credibility, with respect. With someone that's accomplished something here within the state of Indiana. I think it's just a really good marriage. And, who knows? I mean, Brian Walsh worked his way up. Maybe this will be an opportunity for Jordan to work his way up as well into the coaching ranks.
And, of course, having him back, Chronic, is huge. It's big for Bloomington. It's big for Indiana. It's just big in a lot of ways, having someone like Jordan who was very popular. That's kind of unusual. I mean, you had Calbert Cheney, but Jordan is being the hometown kid and a kid that seemed to have to fight for everything that he's ever had. It's just nice having someone like that on staff.
No, absolutely. And, as Kevin alluded to, his family is deeply entrenched in the grassroots circuit. With the Adidas circles, Jordan himself has an AAU team, Jordan Hall's Elite. Even though he's been out of country for almost a decade now, you guarantee he has remained very closely connected to the game of basketball in the state of Indiana and the Midwest and across the country. And I have no doubt whatsoever this is just the first step in a long career of many as a coach now. As you mentioned, he is fresh off arguably some of his best basketball of his career. And just to step away at this time, I'm sure his family had a lot to do with it. He and Aubrey have 3 young kids. I can't imagine what it's like raising them overseas in a different country, different language and all that. So to get them close to their families and their support systems, but to get back home has got to be just a tremendous feeling for him. And what a tremendous opportunity, not just to come back home, but to work for your alma mater and help grow it. And I think that's very much, the same cloth that Mike Woodson comes from, at least as it relates to him making his decision to make a career change and come back to IU and try to put some shine back on the Hoosiers. Proof's going to be in the pudding. There are a lot of people that felt really, really good about the program this time last year. Some bumps along the way, but I think they, more importantly than anything, they maintain momentum into the off season, which when you're trying to program build is absolutely everything, because momentum can be such a fickle friend or foe for that matter. You just can't afford to let it slip. You have to establish the program before you start giving any ground. And, you're only as good as your last recruiting class. And while we can, celebrate these kids before they've ever suited up right now, with the freshmen on campus going through workouts, make no mistake, there is very much a foundation being laid for the next class happening right now. And, it's great to have Jordan Halls be back on campus and be a part of that.
Yeah, it would be great if they could get him in the on a TB team together. As Indiana has made efforts, there's some people that I've seen people trying to get that done. Ross mentions that Devontae Green said yesterday they couldn't get enough people to commit before the deadline. Which, you've got to have guys there are guys that are still playing in Europe right now, and it just doesn't work out. It's just tough, and I don't know if or when they'll be able to get that done, but it's not going to be this season for sure. Maybe it's something they can get done next year. Who knows? They'll keep working on that, but no Indiana TBT team this year. Although I'm still looking forward to the TBT. We've got that to come forward. We've got Little League World Series. We just finished the College World Series. So all these little fun summer events, I'm still looking forward to. The TBT is always a fun event because not only do you have basketball, but you've got the Elam ending.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think what got exposed is just how much organization is required in there. Most of these teams have an effective GM or someone that's doing the organizing, making the player contacts, pooling the resources to put it all together. And it looks like organizationally, the Indiana efforts just got caught a little behind schedule in getting all that together. But I think the important thing going forward, just the talk of it raised a lot of awareness, put a bug in a lot of guys' ears, so that perhaps next year they'll have a little more runway to work with, knowing who's potentially interested in joining and what that team might look like. But I was fascinated by the thought of it and continue to be. Hopefully it does come to fruition at some point, because there are a boatload of guys still playing right now professionally who would make one hell of an IU TBT team. But better luck to the guys next year. But like you, I'm just excited to have TBT and whatever basketball is available between now and October 7th, which we just learned yesterday is going to be the date of this year's Hoosier Hysteria. So love seeing that get flushed out early so that everybody can plan and prepare. And I'm a big fan of the pairing with homecoming weekend. Just giving IU fans a ton to celebrate what's traditionally a gorgeous weather weekend in town. Leaves starting to turn, weather still temperate. Should be a great time that weekend. Which again, Saturday I'll be heading out. I don't get to watch the football game against Michigan. I'm heading on vacation, but I'm glad they at least put Hysteria in a date that's going to work for me this year.
Well, not only that, it is a pretty cool thing to have it the night before. It's not just a football game, but a big time football game. Michigan will be coming into town, but obviously that's going to be a big crowd, but that should just be a really big weekend. It gives the people that are coming in to tailgate overnight opportunity to be there. So it really is a smart thing by Indiana to combine these two things.
Yeah. And, get the students fired up. That's going to be, I think, a huge component for Tom Allen and the Hoosiers this year is trying to maintain that fan support. And I've said for decades now, it starts with the students. There's not a successful program in the nation that doesn't have a robust student section and support from that demographic. And it's something Indiana struggled with in years past. I thought they made some pretty great strides this year. Obviously, after the disappointing season for football team, it's going to be really tough to keep that level up. But I think this is a great way to get the excitement up in town, particularly before a key matchup in the Big Ten East. Indiana doesn't get a lot of opportunities to knock off Big Blue or Ohio State. Obviously, they play every year, but from a competitive standpoint, Michigan's resurgent, and this may be one of the better chances Indiana has at them in the coming years based off their current trajectory and the talent they're bringing in. To leverage the home football crowd here in Bloomington. But if you can get them extra juiced up coming fresh off the heels of Hysteria, I think that just sets up perfectly for that noon kickoff for what's a big game for Indiana. Nobody told the TV schedulers that, I guess.
I know this is crazy, Kevin, but just the craziness of thinking what happens if Indiana were to knock off and upset Michigan the day after Hoosier Hysteria. That would become an instant permanent thing from now to the end of time if that were to happen.
Yeah, that would be something. And you think about 2020, though, the last time they came here, certainly in the COVID year, Indiana won that game. They beat them 38-21. So there's always hope. I mean, it's possible. Is it probable? Probably not, but you never know. But I think it'll be kind of crazy if you're thinking Hoosier Hysteria being a night event this year. People are going to go out afterwards. And then you've got a noon kickoff, and I mean, people are going to start tailgating at 7 a.m. I mean, is there going to be enough, alcohol to go around, or is there going to be enough food to go around, for that?
No such thing as enough, baby. No such thing as enough.
It's going to be, it's going to be like Party Central all weekend, I think, for Indiana fans, for people coming down here.
And Chronic, that's the thing. Indiana needs, and the football needs that boost of excitement. I think that would be a great boost for them, and they're going to need that. Like I said, what happens if they go out and win that game? I'm like, that would be instantly like, okay, this is from now on. This is how this is going to happen.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's almost a generational touchstone. To be alive when Indiana knocks off an Ohio State or a Michigan, or Penn State for that matter, because quite frankly, they are far and few between those moments. So obviously they've played them tight several times in recent history, come up short far more often than not. But you know what? If Tom Allen is truly going to demonstrate that he's turned this thing around, you've got to have some of those wins. You just absolutely have to snipe some of those that you're not projected to, and you got to pull some upsets off. We saw what that did for the team following the Penn State win. At this particular juncture in time, though, I don't think you can overstate just how massive that would be for the program. Again, like Kevin said, probable, not really. Possible, absolutely. And one thing we've seen is a rowdy, full home crowd. Can certainly help change the team's fortunes. So anything that helps. I will say, though, for the record, Kevin, I've lived here for the better part of my life. To my knowledge, this town has not, nor will it likely ever run out of alcohol. I assure you of that. We just make too much of it here locally on our own. We're self-sufficient, even though we do like to import quite a bit as well. I assure you that will not happen, at least not under my watch. And if so, that's probably the day I enter politics and make sure that never happens again.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not going to be a problem. It's although it's a dry campus, it is the wettest dry campus in the world.
And we almost have to drop that anymore. I mean, they're selling beer at Memorial now. I mean,
that's right. You know what? That's true. I didn't even think about that. It's like, what, you can't even call it a dry campus anymore.
And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised in the coming months, maybe years, that you don't see some movement where Indiana gets a little bit more progressive in those regards, simply because we've kind of we've dispelled that myth about the dry campus. They have embraced alcohol sales, at least partially, at certain events. Even though that's been happening in the private rooms for years now, it is available for sale to the general public. But I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see some things down the road, especially with NIL. There's so much advertising dollars in that particular arena. If Indiana doesn't make some movement along those lines and just open up revenue streams that other teams in the Big Ten, for that matter, are currently cashing in on, they would be foolish not to.
Yeah, I think too, Chronic, like that's, and now that we have football and we have baseball as a test, I'm just wondering if or when it will ever come to Assembly Hall, and certainly there's, I know it's a cramped place. I know passions are tremendously high for basketball, but, I think the boon that you could have, I mean, if it's done responsibly and you could, that would really be something, and that would really be another revenue maker if they ever got to that point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't believe, with how many home games are you looking at a season? 20? times 17,000. I mean, come on, just do the math. It's just a numbers game, man. And we know that they are losing money in other ways now, with whether it's NIL money that may be going to a player that's not going to the school, or they've got to come up with ways to make money in other facets. And I'm surprised that they haven't already done it at Assembly Hall, to be honest with you, now that they've done it at Bart Kaufman and they've done it at Memorial, and alcohol is already available, like you said, inside of Assembly Hall in multiple places privately. It's just, I think it's time. But then you've got to you've got to add all that stuff in, Chronic, the space, kegs and taps and all that stuff. I'm sure that they'll figure it out, but there's lots to do.
No, and I understand some of the apprehension originally. Obviously Assembly Hall is one of the more passionate facilities in town, or at least the occupants tend to be a little more passionate. But I think as another year goes by and you see, incident counts, alcohol related incidents at Memorial Stadium, posting multiple years of records now, it'll probably allay some of those fears that perhaps some people have, some contrarians have used to maybe slow walk this process. But, at the end of the day, as much as beer can improve the fan experience, there's nothing going to be better for keeping fans happy than winning games. That's what matters most at this point. Post some W's and we'll figure out a way to get our beer one way or another.
What about you get to play Xavier in the Gavitt games? Sean Miller, kind of a cool, unique, ironic matchup there for Indiana.
Yeah, I missed that one. About a month ago, we talked about the non-conference, and I'd said North Carolina and Villanova after the Arizona games. I thought that was going to be it. So,
me too.
The nice thing about the Xavier matchup, while it may not be the very best of the conference, it's certainly going to be a stout challenge, and it's a road game, but one just across the state line over there in Cincinnati. I think you'll see a tremendous amount of IU fan support in the gym that night. I like it. I really like that matchup. I think from a competitive standpoint, but also just locationally, I think it sets up perfect for Indiana. And maybe, if they don't post the toughest non-conference schedule in the nation, it's still going to keep them very, very high atop that list. There's not going to be much of a drop-off, having not selected IU for Villanova, instead sending them over to Cincinnati. But it's going to be a hell of a season, and probably a 180-degree reversal from what fans experienced in the non-conference this past year. So the challenge will be stout, but there's a whole lot of reward for Indiana if they can make it through this and get some W's against some top flight competition.
Yeah, I mentioned that before, Chronic, the whole idea, and just the idea of, not getting this team too jet lagged too, because, you're going to Vegas and you're going to, Kansas, and this is a little bit more of this is a bus trip. So it might be easier for them with, everything that they're going to have to deal with during the semester and during the year.
Yeah. And, it's for all the bemoaning about the games that get played in New York and the Bahamas and all these points that are inaccessible to fans. It's Cincinnati's closer to Bloomington than virtually every Big Ten town, if not every Big Ten town. I'd have to pull up Google Maps and see what the difference is between West Lafayette and or Champaign for that matter in Cincy, but it's proximically, it is perfectly ideal. And, my Southern Indiana bias showing that's adjacent to 812. And, that's my life experience. Some of the most passionate IU fans in the world are down here. So give a lot of my people a great chance to watch some IU basketball on the road and, not even have to get a hotel flight or a plane ticket, hopefully.
Looking forward to it, brother. I cannot tell you much. Appreciate it. It's always a fun Tuesday when the Chronic comes along.
I'll tell you what, glad to be back on the air. Still wishing I was sitting on a beach in Florida, but we're going to make do here this week. And I'll see you guys next week.
Can't wait to do it, brother. Have a great rest of your week and a fun weekend.
Take care.
You bet. Chronic Hoosier joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio and K-Bro, Kevin Brockway, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington.
All righty.
Oh, I'm hungry. I'm so hungry. What do you got to do today, K-Bro? What's K-Bro got to do today?
Well, I still got to work on that NIL stuff and try to get to the gym. And went for a nice walk on Bloomington Trail last night. I like doing that too, getting a little exercise. You know, it was a nice night last night. So
yeah, you can come out here and walk around the golf course.
Walk around that golf course. Yeah,
I do that sometimes.
They still doing live music at the point or no?
Yeah, not like they were, but yeah.
It's not as hopping as it was.
It's all right.
Yeah, I might come out one night this weekend, maybe. Who knows?
I got to see what the new July schedule is.
Yeah,
that should be.
I'll be happy when this is over. You know, like this week is over, and then next week I can kind of coast into my vacation. I'm getting my car done I'm going to Andy Moore on Tuesday, getting my car done. I found out some good news that because I thought the timing belt was going to be like $1,000 job, and it turns out that it's just a chain and a spark plug, so it's only $550. So that's good because it just went over 100,000 miles. So.
Yeah, boy.
So I'm getting the car work done on Saturday morning. Then I'll be going to Cincy 4th of July for the baseball game. And then I'm going camping with my brother on the 11th for a week. So that'll be good.
Man.
Yeah.
What day is the Reds game? Monday?
It's Monday, July 4th. Yeah. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're playing all 3 games.
Keep me updated. I may go up. If you're going to go up there and just come back, I may go up if I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I think we won't be doing a show Monday either.
We're not?
4th of July.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you just want to be lame.
No, I don't. No, I don't. So we can go up to see a Reds game. Yay.
Because it'll be hard to book guests on a holiday like 4th of July.
Meet the Mets.
Meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. I'll wear my Reds.
Red stuff, yeah.
I have a. Oh damn it! What do you call it?
Yeah.
Not a hat, but a visor. Reds visor.
Xavier. I wonder if they're going to announce that officially today. I don't want to credit Rothstein if I don't have to. I'm going to wait.
What a dick for doing that, for real, when there's an embargo on it.
It doesn't matter. He doesn't have to worry about his fucking credentials.
Yeah, he doesn't have to answer to IU. Yeah, well, that was for the Big Ten. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was for the North Carolina game.
If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday. What is? It's going to be another incredibly nice day today. 55 degrees this morning, 66 right now. High of 81 degrees today, K-Bro.
Yeah, just a gorgeous, last night I took a walk on the Beeline Trail, Bloomington Trail, and it was just so nice and comfortable, just walking out with nature and getting a little exercise in. This is the time of year you try to slim down, right? Because then, you're on the road in the winter and eating and drinking and doing all that bad stuff. But this is the time of year where you can get outside, get some fresh air, get some nature. And it's a beautiful time of year, especially when it's not like, a couple of weeks ago, it was too steamy. You want to stay inside. But that's the beauty of, I guess, living in the Midwest in the summer. Like I remember when I was in Florida, I mean, it was like a sauna from May to October, but then you had obviously the winter that was a lot more temperate. Here it's, nice to have that summer where you can get outside and do things.
Yeah, just beautiful all around, man. Down in Evansville, up around.
Keep that humidity down. That's the trick, baby. Yep. And that's let's see. It's going to be Friday. Going to get up to 91. But what is the humidity going to be? That's the
yeah.
See, it's going to be 62% humidity on Friday, so that's going to be a little steamy.
It's going to get a little steamier, yeah.
A little steam day there. So,
yeah.
Oh, Friday's the 1st, July 1st.
Friday's July 1st, yeah.
Ah, so
4th of July weekend coming up. I think most people probably have Monday off, right? For 4th of July, you would hope.
Saturday, though, not bad. Saturday and Sunday looking kind of good, 84 degrees. Scattered thunderstorms.
Yeah.
Oh, but humidity is going to be way up there. Yeah. So, oh, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? See, some Andy Moore Honda hotline over here. Some comments. Let's see. Tim says it'll be a big football recruiting weekend during the Michigan homecoming game. Well, yeah. I always thought it's big if you win. I don't know how big it is if you get beat, though. How big is it if you get beat?
Well, you invite players there, and then you hope that you win. But, then if you lose, the selling point is, hey, you can be part of the group that turns it around, right? Or you'll get immediate playing time.
This earlier from Steve, Jack Benner to Purdue. He just saw it on Facebook, but that posted by his aunt. So I can't confirm that is accurate yet. Then, since it's coming from an aunt on Facebook, that's not.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not true, but that is not exactly how we confirm news.
Looks like everyone is, very. It looked like the whole Indiana coaching staff was watching Xavier Booker over the weekend, though, and that's, I guess, worth monitoring to see if they can continue to try to put some seeds and change his mind for the 2022 class, 2023.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Well, his recruiting has certainly taken a major jump up. Indiana has really put the push on for him, and I talked about this earlier that he had been kind of considered. Michigan State was considered in the driver's seat. Now I don't know that that's the case. I think that his recruiting is completely open, and Indiana has as good a shot as anybody right now.
Yeah, and why not? Add another and a guy that's got some stretch four ability, certainly, and a guy that's in-state and local. To Indiana, Indianapolis. A guy that certainly is vaulted his stock to be a top 10 player in the country. But we will we'll certainly see how that develops. And I know he have a visit early this month, another visit, so that I think that bodes well. And Indiana will continue to try to sell him on chance to be part of something here.
Yeah, absolutely. And your Reds, or not your Reds, my Reds, as I mentioned earlier, 15 and a half games back. Let's see, where are your Mets still holding on to first place, holding on to that 5-game lead
over the Braves? Yeah.
They were 10 up, and then the Braves cut it, but they've been able to hold on to this 5-game lead for it's been a couple of weeks now, right?
And I will say this about Buck Showalter as the Mets manager, and watching the Mets this year, they're 74 games into the season, and they have not had a losing streak of longer than 2 games all year, which is amazingly consistent. They have not had that long. Now as a Mets fan, you're waiting for the shoe to drop and for them to have that 5 or 6 game losing streak. But
what's their biggest winning streak?
Hasn't happened yet. Biggest winning streak is only 6 games though. So that's been the issue. But they have shown a good bounce back ability. They've been remarkably consistent, and I think a lot of that has to do with Buck's priority on defense and base running. Because, they've really been without their top 2 starters for much of the season. Now, Max Scherzer was supposed to come back Sunday. He had a, rehab, he's having another rehab start on Tuesday. They're trying to take it slow with him. And then Jacob deGrom, you keep hearing he's going to come back. You keep hearing, and he's throwing live batting practice. So, maybe after the All-Star break. But they've got a lot of games with the Braves coming up in July and August, and that's going to be the real tail of the pudding. I mean, I think the good news is with the wild card this year, the top 6 teams get in. But you take a look at the National League, and I mean, you've got San Diego and San Francisco and Milwaukee and St. Louis and the Mets and the Braves, and even the Phillies. So I think you got 8 teams really fighting for those 6 spots, and you could end up on the outside looking in if you're not, continue to, put your pedal to the metal. So while the Mets are in a good position right now, they got to keep it up, and because it's a tough National League at the top.
We'll get to the Central Division in a second, but the funny thing about the East, the National League East, the Mets in the last 10 games 6-4, the Braves 5-5, the Phillies 6-4, the Marlins 5-5, the Nationals 5-5. Everybody is right there within a half a game over the last 10 games. There's been like no movement in that division. Then over in the Central Division, the Brewers jump back over the Cardinals because they've won 7 out of their last 10, while Cardinals have gone 5-5. Now they have a half game lead over St. Louis in the National League Central. Pirates, and that's just those 2 teams. Other than that, everybody's gone. Pirates 12 games back, Cubs 13, and the Reds are 15 games back. So the Central, it's just the Brewers and the Cardinals, and it looks like that's just going to be a fight to the end, man.
Oh, yeah, no question. And Jennifer Land's Cardinals, right? The Cardinals are, right there. They're a buddy of mine went to the game last night. Actually, I think they played the Marlins. They beat the Marlins 9-0. Another good job by Wainwright, and they're. Cardinals are, listen, that's going to be a tough division. The Brewers don't have offense, but they have pitching and they have an excellent bullpen. And I think the Cardinals have, certainly maybe a more well-rounded team, although they're a little shaky at the back end with their bullpen. That might be their Achilles heel.
Everybody, all of our listeners down in Evansville, mostly Cardinals fans. Cardinals games carried on the ref. 97.7 ESPN The Ref. You can catch your Cardinals right there, baby, every game. But yeah, that division's looking kind of wonky. And then you go to the West, of course, the Dodgers. They only have a game and a half lead over the Padres. That division's a little more stout. The Giants are only 6 games back.
Yeah.
So you got 3 teams there with and then of course the Yankees running away with it in the East, man. The Red Sox or the next team, they're 12 games back. That's crazy. There's nothing close to that in Major League Baseball with the second place team that far back.
Yeah, and I think if you're the Yankees, you're probably looking at Houston, who they split over the weekend, and Houston is playing my Mets 2-game series this week in New York. At Houston with Dusty, I mean, they're loaded again. I mean, they're still really good team that, certainly is so I think it's going to be the Yankees and the Houston probably in the ALCS again.
Ross is down at his marina down there in Lake Cumberland, and they're going to have 3 different marinas doing fireworks this weekend. Robert down in Evansville, he said it's 70 degrees and 47% humidity there in Evans Patch, as he affectionately calls it. Tim says 3 players to join the first LIV event in the U.S. that's in Oregon this week: Matthew Wolff, Carlos Ortiz, and Eugenio Chicara. I've heard of Matthew Wolff. That's it.
Yep.
I mean, who cares? I met those guys. Ross said Cups is hanging out with Booker down in Florida at the NBA Top 100 camp, talking about Gabe Cups and Xavier Booker. He also mentions that Gabe Cups will also be playing with Derek Queen, who is a Montverde player, Indiana.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
Target. Michael, talk about his Redbirds. Got him excited. The Cardinals.
The Fredbirds.
And then Blake wants to know, which is a great question, who the hell are the Pacers signing? Who the hell are they trading? All that talk.
Yeah.
All that talk. And we'll talk about this tomorrow when Bob Kravitz comes on, because I know it was his piece that he wrote was, all the talk with the Pacers, and it wasn't the draft was a surprise, but nothing happened as far as trade and making stuff happen. And so now, where the hell are the Pacers?
Yeah, Brogdon and Miles Turner are obviously on the block, and I think they're kind of rebuilding around Tyrese Halliburton, and that's a good strategy. But we'll see what they bring in. I mean, I think that was draft weekend. Bob Kravitz pretty much asked that question, like we were expecting maybe a little bit more explosiveness from that side, but I think they're not getting the value that they want for guys of that caliber. And but I think part of that is because I think people around the league know that the Pacers want to get rid of them. So it's hard to, when you're desperate, it's hard to create value.
Great question from Blake. Thank you, sir. I have to wonder where Blake is. OG Anunoby. Tim says OG Anunoby was in trade talks. We'll see about that. And then Pete says, don't forget about Wimbledon. Yeah. Love watching the tourney. Later rounds, of course. Wimbledon coming up.
It seems like there's a lot of chat, getting back to the Pacers, too, about bringing Gordon Hayward back here. That's been going on for a while. And involving Brogdon or Turner and a train that would bring Gordon Hayward back to the Pacers.
Yeah, well, we'll see. What's coming up next for you?
Yeah, no, NIL series the rest of the week. As I mentioned earlier, we've got a lot of good content. Ellen Hayes and I are teaming up. We've been working really hard on that. And the following week, I might do a piece on Mike Woodson and his little motivational ploys. Like, I thought that was very interesting in the, Huber's event when he talked about what he did with Kofi Coburn and Trace Jackson Davis. And Mike Woodson as a motivator. I think that's a pretty interesting side to him, what he showed his first season.
Well, you have to be when you're in the NBA. You have to find ways to motivate those guys because they're men. So that's a great point. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to next week when you come back to join us, and also looking forward to tomorrow, as I mentioned, Bob Kravitz, Kyle Nedrip, and Rick Bozich be along. So looking forward to that. So I hope you had a great time today. Big thanks to Mike DeCourcy, Chronic Hoosier, and K-Bro, Kevin Brockway, in addition to John, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you all, there's no reason for us to be here. Make sure you go out, support our sponsors, the Wow Club and Andy Moore Honda, because without them, we can't be here with you either. So go out and have yourselves a great day. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports.